You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we are talking about the movie Thankskilling, which is a 2008 American slasher film written and directed by Jordan Downie, released at the Sacramento Horror Film Festival on December 8th of 2008. And it is our second holiday special. We did Halloween on Halloween. Now get ready for Thankskilling on Thanksgiving.
Isn't that great?
Oh, man.
And I had not seen this one.
No, I haven't seen it since probably 2008 when it came out, so...
Yes, and did you see it in a theater?
No. I did not. I don't remember where it was on. It was on some streaming service or something. I don't remember. It's been a long time. So maybe not 08, but a little after, but yeah.
It's one of those movies that I would have expected to, I don't know, see on the late night, middle of the night, horror classics.
Mm-hmm.
That is not when I saw this. I got it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, nice. How I ended up watching this, because I was trying to figure out where I could find it to download or stream or buy online. And I just got lucky that I happened to swing through this little Entertain Mart, which I think they're kind of a chain, but kind of like the new FYE or whatever, where they have all kinds of new and used music. I love looking for records and stuff in there, but music and movies and video games and all kinds of stuff. And I just happened to swing through there because there's a little Filipino restaurant in the mall that I like, that I went up there just strictly to get food. But then while they're cooking the food, I was like, well, I'll just wander across the hallway here and see what's in there. And they had their holiday movies all set up, and they had a whole display and special section for Thanksgiving. And I was like, yes, because the people who run that shop are total nerds, and they tried their best to get all of these super low budget, under the radar cult classic movies to, yeah. So I can always depend on that store and the people running it to help me find the most wacky, ridiculous things. And I was so glad they had Thankskilling in there for me to pick up.
You never know what you're going to find in one of those $5 bins. I have found some really cool gems in the $5 bin.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. And this one, it's quite the movie.
Oh, yeah. It's a movie.
It is a movie, a holiday movie.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those that you know exactly what you're getting into. It is a low budget, and we'll talk about all of that stuff for sure. But yeah, it doesn't take itself seriously. It knows exactly what it was, and it went into it for that reason, where, yeah, everything is overacted and super cheesy, and the plot really doesn't matter, and things are even just completely ignored as far as continuity or what makes sense. And yeah, it's fine. Now there is, a little warning on stuff. Going back and watching this many years later, I didn't realize, you can tell it's made by these college age people back in 2008 who didn't,
yes,
because there's some ableist and homophobic content and stuff in there.
Yeah,
so it's
definitely
a sign of the times it was made in, for sure. But if you can kind of look past that and just be it's just a ridiculous thing, then it's fun.
Yeah, it's about 70 minutes of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
So I'm going to break down a little bit of the behind the scenes. We will, as usual, near the end of the podcast, talk about production notes, but let's just dive in to learn a little bit more about this cult on the classic called Thankskilling. It was filmed in 11 days in Granville, Ohio. Jordan Downie, who is the director, also did the voice of the antagonistic turkey.
Not just the voice, but I think he just puppeted it the whole time too. He did it. Because there's a blooper reel on the DVD, and some of the bloopers are where he's in shot, and you can see him doing the voice, and he's Jordan, you're still in it. We gotta do it again.
And turkey does make the whole movie, really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, turkey, yeah. There are so many things about that turkey. So it was filmed on a budget of a whopping $3,500 in the summer of 2007. Was released on DVD in 2009. And the tagline for this movie is "Gobble Gobble Motherfucker."
Yeah.
So, Peg, why don't you give us a synopsis of this darling little film?
All right, a quick synopsis here. A homicidal turkey axes off college kids during Thanksgiving break. That's about it.
That, I think, sums it up so well.
Yeah.
It definitely represents everything that was going on in this film.
Mm-hmm. Man, and if I remember right, I think that turkey puppet was literally like Jordan Downie made it in like his like bathroom in his apartment just by a bunch of discarded stuff, and like everything's as low budget as it possibly could be. And I kind of love this movie for that they were just like, we're good. I mean, even like the filming and audio and everything, you're like, yeah, they just took what they had and made it happen.
So what you're saying is he's like the MacGyver of puppet making?
Maybe.
I'm not sure about that, but I guess you know what? Maybe I'll give it to you. He kind of, that turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't we just go ahead and dive into the movie a little bit and talk about this madness. First off, again, I mentioned I found and bought the DVD for the movie, and the title screen is fucking dope as shit. I gotta say, I was jamming it with the music. Like, it has like the theme song for the movie playing, and like the title screen is really cool. It has this big flashy warning, tits, in the first second. Which,
yes,
I was like, which not necessarily true if you're counting the title card setup of the in 1692 in the olden days, moments after the very first Thanksgiving. But if you skip that part, then yeah, I mean, it just starts with very close-up shot of some perfectly, completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I was like, nothing to see here. It's just some pilgrim woman with her sweet potatoes just out on display for a totally real reason. Yeah.
Yes. I would agree with that. That was, was a great way to kick things off.
That character there played by Wanda Lust, who's a, I guess, well-known, I wouldn't know, I'm not going to say anything, no, but in certain circles, porn actress, so I guess they had contact too.
Yes! They used what they had.
Yeah.
You know, someone must have had a connection with her and was able to get her to come in and shoot this film. Yeah. Or shoot a scene for this film.
Yep. Man. Yeah, the acting and dialogue were cheesier than the best Thanksgiving mac and cheese, so...
Yeah. You know, I was trying to think before we started recording, how do I accurately describe my thoughts on Thankskilling? Well, it was hokey and silly.
Yeah. It
was full of hilarious puns and ridiculous situations.
Yeah.
And from the hysterical dialogue to his ultimate demise, I was most invested in Turkey rather than the core characters, who were quite predictable for the most part. Yeah. Overall, it was quite an experience that made me appreciate some efforts by those involved with the film to bring it to life.
Yeah.
While also appreciating movies that I think are much, much better.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned the characters. I think... All right, take that again. Yeah. No, it's funny you mentioned the characters because I think they perfectly, and purposely left these characters to be as basic, surface level, stereotypes of characters. And this movie unapologetically does that, where they're just playing with the stereotypes and the tropes and then just laughs at them. Not just in the characters, but in all your
yes.
horror movie, slasher movie tropes and stuff like that, where you got to have the slutty bimbo. And so they have the character of Allie, who just comes out and just like, I mean, that's who she is. And every word that she speaks, like, okay, that's who she is. You got the dumb stoner kind of character, even though he wasn't really a stoner, but more of just like beer. I don't know why they didn't go in that direction, but whatever. But I mean, Billy fits that character. You have your nerd, you have your jock, you have your like, Kristen's kind of like
the good
girl, but like, so calls her daddy and has to, update him on where she's at. So you play with those tropes, and I think it's funny. But even like some of the other like just movie film tropes, I want a fucking divorce. Okay. Like just your stepmother walked out on me. There's these
just part of a general conversation.
Mm-hmm.
No, oh my God, she left me. It's, oh yeah, your stepmother. She walked out.
Yeah.
Like it's no big deal.
But yeah, all these, they're college students, so of course they're all going to be just like sexually driven and all about the party. Like that's going to be what's going on. There's,
and it's Thanksgiving break. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Billy made sure we understood it was Thanksgiving break.
Mm-hmm. What he's the most excited about. I think, and we'll get more into some like specific characters and stuff, I'm sure. But when I want to talk about the tropes, the one that I loved the most, that actually I like paused and I was just cracking up. The funniest part of this movie to me is not necessarily something with turkey or some kind of one-liner. It's this playing on the trope, this parody of the parent kind of disowning or not, believing in his son because of, or only caring about his son for sports, well-being or, sports skills. And I thought that was, I don't know why, but that was the funniest thing, is when Johnny comes back home to his parents and he's talking to his mom. It's like, oh, your dad's in here. He's like, me and Pop don't talk anymore. And once I got demoted down to second string, he won't talk to me. He doesn't love me anymore. She's like, that was 2 weeks ago. Everything was just, and I'm paraphrasing a lot of the lines, but the hey dad, hey. And then he just like takes his paper and just storms off. And he's like, he's your son, just this very, and I thought that was hilarious. I was just cracking up. I'm going to have to lie to him. No.
Don't lie to him. And then he does, and his father.
I knew I could be proud of you. Yeah.
It was all short-lived.
Yeah. But I don't know why necessarily, but I guess like that trope was just like parodied so well in that moment of like the whole, I got demoted to second string. You're no son of mine. Like this.
It's just silly. It's like, come on, really?
Mm-hmm.
But that was the dialogue. That was the story. When you watch this movie, you're along for the ride, and it takes you to places you may never have thought you were ever going to go.
Yeah.
I may never want to go again, but maybe you do. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess even though you said there's not a lot to run through, I know you've got some notes on them. So let's kind of just run through like who are our core group of characters that we get. Oh,
goodness.
In this film.
Well, we have Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
And she does seem to be the good girl. They were talking about what they're thankful for, and she mentions that she's thankful for spending time with her friends, and her dad is the sheriff, and so she calls him on her cell phone, which at that time was not the lovely, beautiful iPhones that we have today. It's just kind of this strange cell phone. And they have this dialogue exchange that it's okay. It's not amazing, but it's what you would expect. She tells him that she's on her way home, and he's happy that she's coming, and she's going to go to the banquet or the ball with him.
Which I'm going to point out, they just blatantly, just completely forgot about continuity of stuff, because when she's talking to him the night before,
yes,
it is just like, you going to go to that banquet with me tonight? Yeah, I'll be there. And we had to stop and stay overnight in camp. I'll go with you to the banquet tomorrow. Yeah. But the banquet's already happened. You missed it. I don't know.
Yes. You're a little late to the party.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of liked Kristen. I feel like she did the best with her story.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that happened that I was happy about for her. I thought she could be a badass potentially at some point. But then we have Johnny.
Oh, man.
The football player. The jock. His dad taught him how to play football, but he mentions, like you said, that they haven't been getting along lately. And then it comes out about the second string quarterback, and his dad won't talk to him. And then the strangest thing is it's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, he acts like we don't talk anymore, and like it's been years. And that maybe his family is, like, not together, and it was just very weird. And then I find out, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. Which, they're away at college, like, I don't know for most people, but I think, like, with me, like, going 2 weeks without talking to your parents, just kind of when you're doing your own adult thing, is not out of the norm, like, at all.
Not at all. And then he does lie to his dad, of course, about being the starting quarterback of the Titans.
Tritons.
Which seem to be Tritons.
Yeah.
The Tritons. Yeah. The character that I actually liked the most was Darren.
Uh-huh.
He was kind of the nerdy tag-along friend of Billy's.
He has this weird wiping his mouth and slurping thing that I don't understand.
Freak Johnny out.
But, you know, I like that they gave some of these characters, like, little quirks that they just have.
Yes. No explanation why it just happens. And when you're watching, you get to this point and you're just like, okay, we'll see what happens next. Darren made me laugh because he wants to go skinny dipping with no clothes on.
Yeah, as opposed to any other way you can do that.
Yeah. And he wants to have sex with someone in the car, not by himself, and then he looks at his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay.
Which,
all right.
One of the, we have a quotes section, but if I'm honest, most of my notes are quotes. So I just kind of will throw them out too as we go, because I think that's one of my favorites. There's an Allie after that. Well, it isn't going to be me. I'm a prude.
I know, I'm thinking, I'm not sure who he thinks he's going to have sex with, but that might have potentially been his last option, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, Darren is the one who shares the story of Kralberg. 1500s, population 36.
Yeah, he just happens to know this story, of course.
Yeah, in his head, like, there it is. So, he talks about Feathercloud, who necromanced a turkey that travels the world every 500 years killing humans, and would stop at nothing to get what he wanted, which is to kill people. And I found that, okay, yeah, this is a movie about a killer turkey. That's what I would expect. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Which then it turns out is more specifically, like, since he's necromanced by a Native American, that, like, he's out to kill white people for their mistreatment of Native Americans. Which, again, jumping the gun a little bit, but, like, on the quotes and stuff, where he says, but we gave you a bunch of land back and let you have casinos. Isn't that enough? And he's like, almost, but not quite. Like, but then it wasn't. And then they just skim over it and that's it.
And have I got some notes about the turkey? Yes, I do. So I don't have a lot of notes about Billy other than he was Darren's friend and he was the one that someone said was smelly, and he mentioned that his dad had died.
Mm-hmm.
And Allie, I don't feel like she was super smart. She wants to get with Johnny, but she also has a boyfriend, we find out.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure, like, what she really wanted out of it. Other than maybe she just wanted to keep Kristen from getting with Johnny.
Or she's just the stereotypical slutty girl. And that's, like, kind of the whole point of her character. Yeah.
I think you could be right.
And her, just the way that she talked and stuff. It's again, one of those kind of quirks that she just stuck with that I thought was actually kind of funny because it's very purposely over the top, and she's playing up to, like, each and every word has to sound like super dumb or something. Oh my God, whatever. It's weird and, like, so random. Jeez. Whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't attached to her character at all. So I wasn't, not attached to her. And two characters that I definitely overlooked that play kind of a big part in the movie is Oscar and his beautiful dog named Flashy. Mm-hmm. And Flashy is the one that actually wakes Turkey up by, peeing on the totem pole. Or is that what it was?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something. It looked like a little totem pole. Mm-hmm. And he pees on it, and that wakes Turkey up.
Yeah.
And Turkey is not pleased.
He's pissed.
He's quite pissed off. And so R.I.P. Flashy.
Yeah, they didn't spare the dog in this movie.
No, and you know how I feel about that. I'm totally not a fan.
Oscar, the hermit, played by General Bastard.
Yes.
Who is, and I had to kind of look into this, he's like a musician that does kind of rock. So he did some of the music for the movie. I think in the credit scenes and stuff. But yeah, he's just, I guess, a local musician and stuff. He's got stuff on Spotify. I looked at it, and it's more just kind of instrumental, him shredding on a guitar kind of stuff. It's pretty good, actually.
All right.
But
that's not bad.
He wears a lucha mask kind of thing going on while he's got this whole military thing going on as well. Real interesting. Really.
It sounds that I'm going to have to check it out. Maybe we'll link to it in our show notes so everyone can check it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my main character notes, but I do have quite a few on Turkey.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Turkey. Mainly the puns. I just had instead of for quotes, I just had a whole list of some of my favorite Turkey puns. Of course, like I mentioned, I'm pissed after. Or it follows up, he had an accident. What kind of accident? Well, I took this axe and then kind of axed him until he was dead. An accident, Go deep, Johnny. Throwing the head at him. Of course, you just got stuffed. Which, oh man,
oh my god, that I can't even.
Yeah. And then when he chest burster aliens Billy.
Oh my goodness!
Gobble gobble, motherfucker! Now that's what I call foul play.
Yes. Turkey to me was the best part of this movie. I mean, because it was absurd and ludicrous and absolute lunacy at times. But if you just looked at Turkey and his foolishness, it was hilarious. Yeah. It was more of a comedy. I really didn't look at it as a horror. It was more of this comedic adventure with a murderous turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very busy turkey, too. And I think, honestly, he was the smartest character in the whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially.
I was trying to figure out, if it worked not chronologically, but continuity-wise. And it was how's he getting from place to place before they are? But then it was he did have that car, and they did sit around and talk a lot, which that scene was interesting in itself. What did my notes here say is car pervert is either extra pervy or somehow doesn't realize that it's a turkey. Again, I just think they're purposely throwing out all logic and just letting you run with what they show you.
Yes. Don't forget when, I think it was Kristen said, she was talking about something and she said beaked out, and she meant freaked out.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little beaked out. I mean, freaked out. Yeah, you played that off real naturally.
Oh, gosh, the puns. I knew that you would love it because of the puns.
I'm a pun lover, for sure.
You are.
It's a pun, or a play on words.
Oh, my goodness. So Turkey starts off getting really busy. He, of course, takes out Flashy. But even before that, in the 1500s, he's the one who takes out that pilgrim that was running away, topless, in the trees.
For totally understandable reasons, sure, of course.
Yeah, of course. I'm not really sure that is really what they wore, and that they did run around like that, but okay. You go for it. We can deal with it, I guess. And then Turkey takes out Flashy, and somehow figures out where the kids have gone. Because it shows up at Johnny's house and kills the father as soon as Johnny tells him that he basically lies to him and tells him he's the starting quarterback.
Well, at least his dad died proud of him now.
Yes. And then he also kills his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it moves on to Allie's house, where it takes out Allie's boyfriend and has some fun with Allie before breaking her neck.
That scene is the less horrifyingly disturbing and awkward and bad if you just don't think about it so much.
Yeah. Not sure why they included that. But they did also talk about an extra small gravy-flavored condom. Yeah.
It's on brand.
There's that. And then he goes and has this conversation with Kristen's dad. And everything seems fine. Like, it seems like they're bonding because Kristen's dad is wearing this costume of a turkey because he's going to this banquet. And I'm trying to figure out what on earth kind of banquet are you going to dressed up like that?
Well, I guess there was a costume contest or something because he had a little note written to himself on the fridge that just said, win contest.
Well, he did make an attempt. And I thought he was actually going to survive Turkey until he called Turkey an odd duck.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
Well, he didn't mean it literally. However, Turkey took it in a way that he thought was derogatory.
Yeah.
And so Turkey took care of him. And then Kristen and a few of her friends show up.
Which, note, again, I'll butt in on it. Why is Kristen knocking on her own door to try to get into the house?
I'm not sure. Is that something that happens when you move out of your parents' house? That
no.
You suddenly start knocking on the door?
Not in my case. I just kind of walk into my dad's house at any random point. I still do. I've been out of home since I was 18. And I still just walk in whether there's somebody there or not most of the time if I'm going over there for whatever reason.
Yeah. So it's no big deal to walk in, but she's knocking on the door. And Turkey, who has taken Kristen's dad's face and put it on himself, and she doesn't even notice at all.
Yeah, that's just... You look different.
Did you get a haircut? So they all go in, and they don't figure it out right away, it seemed like.
Because I thought maybe Kristen was playing it off to where she knew, because when Darren starts, oh, we're looking for this, and she's like, oh no, I'm looking for... I got poison ivy and I need a cure for that. And so I thought maybe she's on to him and she doesn't want to alert Turkey that they know. Then, no, her reasoning is just I didn't want to tell him about the turkey because he'd have too many questions and it would be this whole conversation and he wouldn't believe me. And that was why she didn't.
The one chance they had to make sense.
Yeah.
And they just said, no, that is not what this movie is about. We are not going there. Yeah. And then they end up looking for this turkey book, which they find and blow dust off it. And I'm just like, goodness.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, though, that I'm sitting there, they know that they're looking for this specific book, and yet they're spending this entire montage just randomly flipping through every book that's completely unrelated to what they're looking for. Darren and Billy have this moment where he's teaching him how to read a children's book, and he's like, yay, you got it.
Yes. Yes, and Johnny and Kristen are kind of bonding. They're starting to realize that they like each other. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be looking for a book? You're not really looking. You're just kind of not taking this seriously.
Yeah, which, again, that whole setup for that is, oh, remember I mentioned that there's these books about this? Well, I bet we can find one at the library, but the library's closed. My dad has a bunch of books. I bet it's there.
Of course it would be there. Suspension of disbelief does just let it go and embrace the experience.
Embrace the stupidity. Because that's what this is all about.
Embrace the over the top plot, whatever it is. Embrace it.
Yes.
And just love it.
So Darren figures out what they're supposed to do. But of course, this book that teaches them how to take care of it is coded in a mathematical code, because that's a thing that people do.
And only Darren can figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And somehow this math code tells him that they're supposed to take away a talisman and burn him at the stake while muttering this demonic mantra in reverse. He gets all of that from numbers.
Yes. And remember, they couldn't see the talisman. It might be hiding under the feathers.
Under his plumage.
I mean, really? Come on. Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
And then from there, they actually do get his talisman. Which it's really, pretty amazing that they're able to.
Yeah.
To figure it out and actually get it.
Billy just has to hold him in a, chokehold for just a second while they take it.
And instead of holding on to him, he gets away.
Yep.
And Billy goes off for a walk.
He was starving. After that whole random handful of French fries he found somewhere, he hasn't eaten in 3 minutes. He's starving to death. You understand?
Yes, he was hungry. And he needed to go find food.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he found food that was going to eat him from the inside out. And let's talk about how ridiculous it was that he inhaled the turkey, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and then it busted through his chest and left him.
With that shotgun, that random shotgun that he just pulls out of nowhere somehow.
It's hidden in the plumage, right?
Yeah, it's hidden in the plumage. You figured it out, cracked the code.
See?
It's easy.
It's not that hard. Doesn't take a mathematician to figure these things out. Yeah, so Darren is holding Billy when he dies.
It's not even that bad. It's not even that bad.
No. It's like his guts are out. It's there. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
End game. Game over. It's done.
Which then triggers another one of probably the best moments of this entire movie. Is this beautiful flashback of Darren and Billy eating ice cream and frolicking around together and just being best buds.
I never knew until that moment.
I miss you so much, Billy. Get close to the microphone. I miss you so much, Billy. This song goes out to you. Oh, yeah. I love you, Billy.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's staying in.
Oh,
it
yeah.
Totally is. I'm leaving it in there.
Billy! Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. And then we come to them figuring out that they needed to find his teepee.
Mm-hmm.
The teepee. And he was inside making what looks like a tossed salad. Because that's what a turkey would do.
Absolutely.
Make a tossed salad.
But at least he's in a teepee and not a car, because we learned from Kristen's dad, not allowed to toss in a car.
No. That is totally against the law. In wherever they were. I thought she was trying to keep him from hearing that it was a beer that was being tossed. Yeah. That was, yeah. And then let's talk about the radioactive materials in the dumpster.
Oh, because, what are the odds of that happening? That kind of stuff only happens in movies.
This movie. So Oscar shows up to try to help. Somehow the turkey ends up in this dumpster. They think he's dead. Yeah. Not really. It just makes him even more insane.
Yeah.
And more crazed. And so I believe they go back to Kristen's house. And Turkey decides to take revenge.
They go back to watch some movies. Which, hey, they started with Night of the Living Dead. That's a pretty good choice.
That is probably one of the best things about this movie. Is that selection.
It was the opening of Night of the Living Dead actually being in this movie.
Yes, I think so. So Darren goes to the kitchen, and Turkey decides to, pull his tongue out, and then pecks his chest until he gets his heart out. Mm-hmm. And the heart goes flying onto the floor and is still beating.
Yeah. He's just reuniting him with his best dead friend, Billy.
Yes, and then we get another little montage of Billy
come up here with me.
Welcoming.
There's no turkeys here.
Oh, yeah. And then Johnny heads to the kitchen as well and gets an electric knife to the chest, but does not survive.
Of course not.
But at least he and Kristen did kiss.
Yeah, a little bit more that Darren had to kind of step over on his way out.
Yes, that was going on. That's kind of why I think Darren went to the kitchen. And Johnny gets stabbed with the electric knife, and Kristen comes and finds him, takes him off to a safe place, which wasn't really safe. And then we get the final showdown with Turkey. Good old Turkey. When she tells him very cleverly in this wonderful pun style, peck on someone your own size.
I loved that so much. It's about time Kristen got a different joke.
Yes, because some of her other ones, yeah, there were a few.
That one was delivered quite well.
Yes, it was. And so she takes care of Turkey. She and Oscar seem to bond for a minute. And then it's over. And it flashes forward to this other Thanksgiving scene with people around a table and a dead turkey ready to be eaten in the center.
Wouldn't you go buy a turkey from the grocery store? Why are you somehow winding up with a turkey that was burnt and cooked on some random bonfire in somebody's yard?
I just figured they drove by and saw it and said, we can't let this go to waste.
There you go.
And so they're all around at Thanksgiving dinner, and it's a different family. The cooked turkey decides to come to life and yells, "Do I smell sequel, biatch?"
Yeah.
And the movie ends.
Yes. And then there's the closing title card. To be continued. ... In space.
I'm just like, oh, in space. Really?
Which, yeah. I'm sure they had no intentions of a sequel at that point, and so that's just kind of a funny dig and joke about horror movies when they make sequels that are already past due.
You know, when a movie series goes on and on and on, when it should have ended. But yet we continue to get these sequels. Yeah, for sure. It's time for it to be over. And that's pretty much all that I had.
Yeah. This one's an easy one. It's going to be a shorter episode, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just there's not a lot deep about this movie, but it is a fun movie to just turn your brain off and be like, what kind of nonsensical shit is going to be here? And it's fun.
Just get some popcorn and a beverage, sit back on the couch, and watch Thankskilling.
Yeah. All right. So, Daphne, you've got some production notes and other little fun trivia about this movie. So why don't you go ahead and lay that out for us?
I do. And we've talked about a few things, but I feel like I definitely have some notes that there are some things about this movie that are quite ludicrous.
Yeah.
But some of this will explain things a little bit, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you'll have more questions after. So the opening scene was originally written and planned to be this big, extravagant scene involving a Native American and pilgrims having dinner. But time and money quickly ran out and the scene was never shot. And they actually filmed the scene with Wanda Lust as the naked pilgrim, or the topless pilgrim, in a public park without a permit. I'm not surprised in the least bit. I mean,
no,
really.
Of course not. Who has the time?
No one has time for that. They can't be waiting. They only had 11 days to shoot it. So while writing the script and even through filming, the creators tried to come up with a cool, unique name for the killer turkey, but they were unsuccessful. So they, in the end, simply referred to him as Turkey. But in some of the recaps that I've read, it's spelled Turkie.
Yeah.
So that's just how it's going to be for me from now on. Every time I think about turkey on Thanksgiving, it's just going to be turkey with an IE, not an EY. Yeah. The turkey puppet was built primarily of leftover special effects supplies. The body was a foam turkey hunting decoy. The feet or lower half of the turkey are never seen in the movie at all.
I don't know if they were even ever constructed, because I think it just was a puppet that Jordan Downie had on his arm that he would,
Chuck Lamb, who played Kristen's father, Sheriff Rude, is a programmer from Columbus, Ohio. And he's actually known as being Dead Body Guy for playing dead people in numerous movies and television shows.
That's funny.
Yes. And if you actually watch the opening credits, it says Chuck Dead Body Guy Lamb, I think is what it says. So it's kind of cool. So no one wanted to distribute the film at first, so the filmmakers sold the DVD on Amazon themselves. It took a year to sell 1,000 copies. And the title card, To Be Continued in Space, was placed in the movie as a complete joke with no intention of any sequels. Nonetheless, a sequel, Thankskilling 3, was released 3 years later. Now, how do you get to Thankskilling 3 without a 2?
They just skipped over the 2. They don't need 2. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and point this out because when I bought the DVDs, again, I mentioned at the top of the podcast about that store where I bought it. What I bought was Thankskilling, the complete collection, which contains Thankskilling and Thankskilling 3. Complete collection is only 2 movies, but on the back of the box that I bought, it says, "Warning, we apologize for any inconvenience, but Thankskilling 2 will not appear in this box set. Unfortunately, every last copy was destroyed, except for one. We hope you enjoy Thankskilling and Thankskilling 3.
Oh my goodness.
And I've looked at I have not seen Thankskilling 3. I have not seen the sequel. I will probably be watching that tonight when we're done recording this. And I'll have to see how to. Maybe we'll cover it next year for Thanksgiving. Who knows?
We could. At the very least, folks, I will make sure that Pake at least tells us what his thoughts are in a future episode.
But I do know, just like the first one, on the DVD box, it has the same warning on the top corner. Warning, boobs in the first second. So they're going to do that again. I know that much.
Oh, well, there's that to look forward to.
Yep.
So, actually, Thankskilling 3, the sequel, was funded through a Kickstarter where they raised $112,248. So, with a bigger budget, do you think that the director could make a better puppet, or are we going to see the same thing?
I'm not sure, because I haven't even looked into a lot of the specifics of it.
It's interesting.
So I saw some of the scenes from the movie on the box for the DVD. I looked at that briefly. It looks like the bigger budget, it looks like they have at least more puppets of different things and some extra effects that they were able to play with. So who knows? Who knows?
Maybe Turkey has a family. Maybe he brings along a brood of turkeys to wreak havoc.
I know there was some wise one creature or a character that they end up dealing with. I think that was in the back of the box. So who knows? That's going to be...
I'm really looking forward to hearing what you think of this one.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in even more hilarious news, a musical adaptation of the film titled Thankskilling the Musical was created by Jeff Thompson, Jordan Mann, and David Eck, and premiered in Seattle in 2013 and off-Broadway at the Producers Club as part of the Festival of the Offensive in 2014.
I would love to be able to see that and see what that's like. Man.
So, I only have 2 more things. Before they decided on Thankskilling, the creators tossed around another idea for a holiday slasher set during Easter called Eggstravakill, and they spelled it with 2 G's. Eggstravakill.
Of course.
Yes.
Maybe that will still happen sometime. Who knows?
And my last bit of note that I had was Ryan Francis, who plays Darren in the movie, is the drummer for the band Overrated, and one of Overrated songs can be heard on the radio when the kids are in the Jeep.
Nice.
So that's pretty much all the notes that I had for production. So I feel like that takes us to what is surely going to be one of the funniest parts of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
With quotes.
Oh, yeah. And I threw out some of mine, but I've still got quite a few all littered throughout my notes. So we'll cover all the rest of them. I'll let you start and go through yours, though, first.
All right. So I started laughing when we're introduced to Sheriff Rude. And his wife gives him some coffee, and he takes a big gulp of it and says, "God damn, Cheryl, this coffee tastes like shit. What'd you do, take a dump in it?" And then Cheryl, who's the stepmom to Kristen, says, "As a matter of fact, I did." And she shows him the coffee pot, and it's got poop in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "I want a fucking divorce." And I'm just like, what on earth did he do to warrant this?
Oh, man.
Because I don't know. There's a couple involving Turkey and also with Kristen where Turkey is talking to Sheriff Rude, and he sneezes once or twice and then just says, "Allergy season, you know." And this is after he gets into the house wearing a Groucho Marx glasses and mustache. Yeah. There's that. And then there is another part where Turkey is wearing Sheriff Root's face and he can't find the garage, can't remember how to get to the garage. And so Kristen says, "Oh, Dad, you and your rapidly fading memory."
Such a funny line.
And then when they're looking through the books, trying to find the right one, they finally do. And Billy says, "It's about time. God, it took forever." And Kristen says, "It was 5 minutes."
Which I love that this whole montage was like in real time. They're just flipping through all these books without actually looking at anything. And it took 5 minutes to do.
Yes. Billy's learning to read.
That's good. Good for him.
Kristen and Johnny are getting close. Yeah. And then this is one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. When Billy says, "God, I'm so tired of this stupid turkey. Just playing games with us like we're some kind of puppets." And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, puppets.
So meta.
And then near the end, Kristen says to Turkey, "How are you still alive?" And Turkey says, "I always come back for seconds." And it's like, okay.
Yep.
And there you have it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Pake, because I'm sure that you still have some on your list that we haven't gone over.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, let's see. Johnny at the campsite, when Kristen's telling her about, he was right behind me and I don't know where he went. He goes, "Well, I don't see anything. Let's just go to bed. Everything will be okay." Which is like slasher movie like 101. That's not how that works at all. You don't just straight go to, or Darren after the rabbit's been thrown into the fire and he just knows all of a sudden its guts are all laid out. It's been cut open. His stomach's been cut open by a beak. Not just any beak. A turkey beak. Somehow he knows. He's pieced this all together.
A while back when we did Halloween, I came up with all those rules. Yeah. I feel like at some point I'm going to have to add to them because of this movie. Because of some of the silly things that have happened.
Yeah. And then in this movie that is so full of language and expletives and Johnny just yelling to the group, "Calm the F down."
Like, why did you feel the need to censor yourself?
Yep. Let's see. What else I got here? Oh, yeah. Between Darren and Johnny, Darren says, "He survived everything we've thrown at him." Where Johnny says, "No, we haven't done anything to try to stop him yet." Darren goes, "Oh, yeah."
Again, this goes back to the lunacy of this movie. It goes back to the lunacy. You can't help it. It's just so foolish.
And then, oh yeah, Johnny with his some great, just, I don't even have the quotes here, but just so many unnecessary like football references that were all really funny. But then he has two more. I've got two more that are Johnny lines that I thought were just insanely ridiculous and funny. Is him going, "Well, after they quote unquote kill Turkey while he's laying in the garbage can. Well, I learned a lot from this experience and made lifelong friends."
Oh, yes.
So cheesy.
Yes, you did.
And then maybe one of the funniest ones is like, "I may have lost my parents, but I gained a girlfriend."
And she looks at him and just... Yes, and that was just before they kissed and had their little fun time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there'll always be quotes in this movie. The quotes are really amazing.
Yes. Oh, man. Now we get to the real interesting part of this podcast is where we have to
yes, we do.
rank or rate this movie in some way.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do. And you want me to go first.
Of course.
I know you do. Always. Okay. For the basis of the quotes and how funny it was, I wavered on this a bit. If you compare it to any of the movies that we've covered on this podcast, it does not stand up to any of them very well at all. So I had to be fair. I do appreciate that the director worked really hard to get the movie made. And I have to give it a 3.5.
All right. I almost landed there, but then I had to take into account some of the jokes and stuff do not age well. And
no, they do not.
And some of it's just a little tacky in some places. And my rating, and I say this with as much love in my heart for this movie, because if you go into it expecting exactly what it is, it's 100% worth the watch because it is insane and it's so much fun. But as a movie, again, Jordan Downie, because I know you're listening to this totally 100%. Thank you so much for putting this into the world. It's incredible for what it is. But as a film, it is a 3.2. Yeah.
Ooh, so we were pretty close. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I couldn't go any higher. There's no way. I appreciate what the director did in trying to make this film with such a small budget. And making the puppet himself and doing the voice and all of those things. It doesn't hold up given the changes in our world. You know, things just would not fly nowadays, some of those things. So, yeah, I had to look at it that way too. So, I think that's pretty good. We landed in kind of the same area, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. All right, Daphne, it is time for some feedback. We've got a little bit of fun feedback for this week, I'm sure. So, let's see what we got.
So our first feedback is from Shenandoah, and this is what she had to say about Thankskilling. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I remember a lot about it. This is one of the cheesiest, extra cheesy movies I've ever seen. The budget was just $3,500, which they probably spent on the only, quote, star who died in the first few minutes. That is definitely not to say that I don't like this movie. I love anything that calls out itself for the obvious, and this movie takes extra steps to wink at the camera. And being one of the only Thanksgiving-themed horror movies, perfect for a good time to just laugh at the silliness. If you like this, may I suggest Dead Before Dawn, another flick that doesn't take itself seriously. There's one very recognizable face as a secondary character in this Canadian low-budget film. Don't expect high-quality makeup, acting, or special effects, just the heart and humor.
Nice. I have not seen that one, so I will have to check that out. I like Canadian stuff. So
I haven't seen it either, so I feel like we're gonna have to maybe take a look at it for a future episode. Thanks, Shenandoah, for sending in your feedback.
All right, and then we do have one audio feedback, and it's from our good friend Steve, which I think we kind of warned probably not to even watch this movie, so I think it's just probably just like a holiday message from him.
Hey, Pake and Daphne, this is Steve, and this is just, it's Thanksgiving, and I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving and Christmas are two of my favorite holidays. I appreciate this podcast. I think I've enjoyed every movie, even that whole Black Sheep one that I was like, it's a movie. It was a movie. It was good. I'm not going to watch this one. What is it? Thanks? I don't know what it was. I'm not paying attention. But I am going to watch the next one because I like that movie and I can't wait to watch it again. But I loved your coverage of Jaws with Rima. I think for me, what I think is great is, so far anyway, all the movies you've chosen, you are very enthusiastic about and you really enjoy. Even, Black Sheep and The Ritual, which neither one of those I was super impressed by, but you guys liked them. And I think I kind of wish you want to stick to that format. I'm not going to watch this one. I may listen to the podcast for Thankskilling, just because I want to hear what you have to say about it. But, don't podcast over a movie that you don't like. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you want to do that? Pick disaster movies, pick Run for Your Life movies that you like, or if you've never seen them that you think you're going to like. And then at least we can hear your genuine reaction to it if you end up not liking it. Just my 2 cents anyway, but thank you for your podcast. I love you guys both. You're good friends of mine. I can't wait to see you again, in real life. And, I can't wait to hear anything you guys do. I enjoy it, and I thank you so much for it. I will talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. And yeah, and if you do listen to this episode, then then you'll know that we don't really dislike Thankskilling. At least not me. I don't know if I'll speak for Daphne, but for me, I think it's because it's so bad that that's the charm of it, to where it is something that I actually do recommend to certain people. If you're one of the kind of the person that wants to watch a terrible, terrible movie because it's terrible and you have fun with that, then this is definitely a movie for you in that regard. So I think in that case, I actually do enjoy the movie. So I've seen it before we did this. So it was my idea. I wanted to cover this movie because I knew, if anything, it would probably spark a funny conversation. So
I have to agree. I think you don't necessarily have to watch the movie to be able to enjoy our podcast about it, because the reaction that we give you is definitely genuine, and our discussion of all the silliness that takes place in this movie is definitely, I think, a fun listen. So I hope you check it out, Steve.
Yeah. And then if you have any feedback that you want to send in for listening to us talk about the movie, since you didn't watch it, I'd love to hear that too. Just to think, to have your thoughts on what our thoughts on were with this crazy movie. And you mentioned you loved Christmas too, so stay tuned for our Christmas episode once we roll around to that time. Still won't say exactly what it is. It's a newer one, came out in the past like 5 or 6 years or so. So it'll be fun.
It is going to be so much fun to record that one. I am already looking forward to it.
Yes.
Can't wait.
It's more serious of a movie than Thankskilling, but it's also got some humor and stuff to it as well. But all right. Thanks so much, everybody, for your feedback. A little bit that we get, we love, and we're always open to get more and more and more. Say hi to us. Any movies that you want us to cover, movies that we have covered that already that you still have some thoughts on, if you've watched the movie later, or if you want to give us some thoughts on what you think about what we said about the movie. We're always happy to hear from listeners and friends.
Yes, we are. And at the end of the episode, Pake is going to tell you how you can get in touch with us if you want to leave feedback.
Well, before we close out the show, of course, again, I'd like to do some little shout outs on what's going on in the podcast universe around us. Of course, you can always hear me. Well, always, at least for now. So I'm still over on Strange Indeed. We're still covering The Haunting of Bly Manor, but we are coming to the end of the season, and it's getting heavy, getting crazy. It's been a blast to talk about it. And then Panels to Pixels, you can hear Steve and Mark over there covering The Boys Season 2 still. And then Mark's other podcast, Adrenaline Cinema. We always love to throw out to that because he's always got some fun stuff going on over there. This week, him and Ben is back over there, and they're talking about Con Air.
I am so looking forward to that one. I loved that movie, and I'm sure that Mark and Ben are going to break it down and have a great discussion.
And then, of course, since you're listening here to Run for Your Lives, stay tuned for next week because it should be a fun one. Daphne, what is up on the docket for next week?
Well, Pake, our post-Thanksgiving episode is going to be the 2004 Roland Emmerich-directed apocalyptic action film, The Day After Tomorrow. This film stars Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal and was released on May 28th, 2004.
That's a fun one. It's a good movie. It'd be fun to dive in on that one a little bit and talk about it and revisit it. So to submit any theories or feedback or thoughts on any of the movies we've covered up until now, and even The Day After Tomorrow for next week, if you want to get on that, then you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/runforyourlivespodcast and email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at RYFL Podcast and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to tell your friends, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, and hit us up on any social media. We love talking to you guys too. So if you just have any quick feedback just about, patting us on the back or telling us something that you think we could do a little bit better, but be nice.
Yes, be kind.
But we love hearing from you guys. So just hit us up on any of our socials. So if you need to find a way to get links to all of our social media, our YouTube page, or any of, different podcast players, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Pandora, wherever we're at, You can go to our website at runforyourlivespodcast.com, and you can get the links to anything you will ever need to find us, reach us, talk to us, listen to us, etc., etc., etc.
And with that, we have reached the end of our show. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I am Daphne.
And I'm Pate.
And if you have to run, especially from psychotic turkeys named Turkey, you better run for your lives.
And happy Thanksgiving to all of our American listeners. Enjoy that. Bye-bye.